Cool.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, Murphy. Go on, out. That's a good way to start, isn't it? With the dog howling at me. He's unravelling himself. Hello, everybody. Whether you're on YouTube watching this live or the replay, or whether you're on Holistic Radio listening to my wafflings. Hello and welcome. And Murphy, stop it. Go on. So tonight's show, I thought I would tackle this because I haven't done this actually, and I don't know why. It's actually part of teachings that we put together back in 2018, actually. So that's 7 years ago. I find that incredible. Anyway, so one of the things that we realized that, so for me, witchcraft and occult practices go hand in hand, yeah. You can be an occultist, not practice witchcraft, but I think if you're going to practice any kind of magic, and witchcraft falls in that bracket, you really need to practice some kind of occult thinking, yeah. So, what is occult thinking? So, the word occult means hidden, yeah. So, if you are seeking occult knowledge or wisdom, then you are seeking that which is buried. Yeah. So this could be something buried in your psyche, or it could be facts buried in a sea of crap out there. Yeah. If it is buried and you are seeking it, then you are seeking occult knowledge. Yeah. In a nutshell. And what occult thinking, we also call it fluidic thinking. I don't think I've done a show on that. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look. I'm just going to make a note of that quickly. I think I've touched on it in other shows, but to do a show specifically on that. So occult thinking or fluidic thinking will enable you to see through that thin veil of, you could call it the societal matrix, the fear matrix, the illusion, essentially. Although illusion is kind of a weird word, I like to call it an overlay. So it's an overlay of fear, or an overlay of societal programming, for want of a better word. Yeah. So what occult thinking will do is it'll pierce through that. Yeah. In Hindu teachings, they call that Maya. So the screenplay which is playing before you, and which you choose to participate in, is this illusion, yeah, until you pierce through it. That's very interesting. So this mode of occult thinking is for life. Yeah, it's not just for Crimbo. And once you step into this very powerful, it's what we call this illuminated synchronistic path. Yeah. You really begin to see the big picture. Just got to do something on here quickly. There we go. And once you see that big picture, there's no looking back. There's no turning back. Yeah. Unless it's to see how far you've come. So the reason that this kind of thinking is eternal is it is the nature of things to evolve, renew, and edit. Yeah. Which is the idea behind fluidic thinking. So as you walk this synchronistic, illuminated, unfolding path, you too will evolve, edit, and renew. And so will your thinking. So the idea, the difference between fluidic thinking and rigid thinking is, getting stuck in certain ways of thinking, of doing, of being, which keeps you circling in a loop. Yeah. Whereas if you can adopt this idea of walking the middle path and taking from this and this and this, you can take things off the shelf as you walk down your path, or you can put them back on. You can throw them away if you need to. If they no longer hold the frequency of your evolved self, then you don't need them anymore. Yeah. They become null and void. Yeah. And the other thing that happens, so as you renew and you evolve and you edit, um, you may be challenged by what are known as guardians of knowledge, in order to gain further knowledge, in order to take the next step up. Yeah. So you become, that's that kind of friction, if you like. That's the friction, the pulling back of the bowstring, which then when you release it, off you go. Yeah. So you become stronger, you become more adept. Yeah. So the guardians, you could say, are like a check-in energy. Um, Almost like, are you sure you want to go further? Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay, off you go. um, and this could manifest as like a block, but maybe not a block, in fact. Because there's a difference between your path being completely blocked and having to go a different way because that's actually not your path, or a bump in the road. Yeah, there's a difference. Um, and from my experience, when you know thyself, yeah, you can spot the difference. So, in the seeking of occult knowledge, there are two polar opposites. So there's the seeking energy, the doing, yeah, the male projective energy, and there's the receptive female energy. Um, so once this knowledge has been assimilated, it brings you to the middle path, or the middle pillar, yeah, which is the place where you then observe from, that grounded, centered middle path, yeah. Um, so occult thinking is always evolving, shifts and moves. So you could call yourself a shapeshifter, yeah. As you grow and learn, unlearn, relearn, question, reflect, rebuild, yeah. So that's the ebb and flow, if you like, yeah. This constant change and your own creativity. What that means is that you don't get stuck in so in your creativity, you don't get stuck doing the same thing all the time. Yeah. And it also enables you to deconstruct ideas and concepts and then rebuild them as you need them. Yeah. And the more you do that, the easier it is for you to do that. Yeah. Occult thinking will certainly challenge your ideas, your perceptions, your self imposed restrictions. And by deprogramming yourself or unraveling yourself, uh, it certainly encourages you encourages you, I am English, I promise, to be honest with yourself. And I think that's the reason why witchcraft and occultism go together. Yeah. Because if you're going to practice witchcraft and magic, you need a very firm base on which to do that work, from my own personal point of view and I suppose experience as well. Now, occult thinking is not neat and tidy. uh, yeah, get your hands dirty, yeah, rummaging around in the mud of your mind, if you like, rolling up your sleeves and doing the work. This is the great work. This is the inner work. This is what this is all about. And some people find that easier than others. Um, and one of the things that we do kind of pride ourselves on is, when we have guided people through this kind of process, I suppose, we've walked that with them. Um, and what I would say is if you're finding huge resistance, then when you move through that resistance, that's where the powerful stuff is. Yeah. Um, so the idea of unraveling yourself, what does that even mean? Yeah. So this idea of unraveling yourself, think of it like a Swiss roll. Yeah. So if you make a Swiss roll and you add the filling, and you roll it back up. What if that filling doesn't resonate with you? Yeah. What if you have out evolved that filling? Yeah. Well, you just unroll it or unravel it, and then replace the filling with something that does resonate with you. Yeah. So this is the deconstruct aspect of get you could even say it's a banish, yeah. Banishing the programming which no longer serves you. Um, because there are some programs that are actually helpful, like, you know, how to cross a busy road. That's quite important. That's a good thing to keep in there, yeah. Um, but what I would say that this aspect of unraveling yourself does require an inquiring and open mind. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by challenging our own limiting beliefs. And years and years ago, and this was 30 years ago when I was doing this. So if I had a thought that came in so I was practicing this even though I didn't know what I was practicing. Yeah. So a thought would come in, and I used to have some quite disturbing thoughts when I was younger. Um, it's like I would have a little what they called little caretaker in my mind, and he'd come in one end with a broom, great big broom, and sweep out that you know disturbing thought literally out of my ear. Yeah, it was just really cool, and that used to come in after a while. It became something that came in automatically if it was something that wasn't aligned with who I really am. Yeah. But I didn't know I was practicing occult skills, but that was what I was doing. Um, so, what is the point? And what is the point of doing this unraveling? Because it is work, it is messy, and can be unpleasant sometimes. If you're looking at something in its face, something that you really don't want to look at for whatever reason, that can be quite unpleasant. Yeah. However, it's very powerful work, and once you move past any kind of restriction that is self-imposed, yeah, then it literally sets you free. Yeah. What I will say though is sometimes if it resurfaces, yeah, if you've done the work to clear it, yeah, sometimes it might resurface and it looks like it's come back. But what I would say is it's usually the footprint, not the boot. So it's like a remnant of that thing, yeah, which, just banish it, clear it, whatever, however you want to describe it. Um, and what I would say as well is every time you take a step up, those things can sometimes go with you, but it'll always be a remnant, yeah, if you've done the work properly to get rid of it. Um, so when it comes to the subconscious mind, that's a bit like the operating system, yeah. So Windows 10, yeah. Blech. And the conscious mind is an application or a program that uses that operating system. So something like Photoshop, for example. So that's kind of the kind of workings. So you've always got, pardon me, your subconscious mind is always going. Yeah, it's always doing stuff like Windows 10. Yeah. And now and again, you bring in the conscious mind to do something, and then, you bring in something else, and then it goes away, gets put back on the shelf, if you like. Yeah. Um, so it gives you a kind of an idea of how they work together. Um, So there's a lot more going on in the subconscious. Yeah. So all those checks and balances, the updates, if you like. That's, when you see an iceberg, that's the bit underneath. But the creative process needs both. Yeah. And so it requires the subconscious and the conscious. So that's the female receptive and the male projective. So the subconscious being the female element, the conscious mind being the male element. Yeah. So you need both for creation. You need incoming and outgoing. Yeah. That's how energy works. Um, so keeping our subconscious mind working for us and not against us is quite important, which is why we choose to unravel and use occult thinking. Yeah. So when you begin to unravel with the help of occult thinking, you can literally instruct your conscious mind to act like a filter, to sift out the ideas, concepts, and those subliminal messages which don't serve your desire, to the subconscious. So you could say your divine will or your formidable will not allow those things in any way, shape, or form. Now, um, I know for some of the people listening here, what happened in 2020 didn't get in, did not get in. Yeah, that's because your subconscious. I would say your conscious, subconscious, and your conscious mind were in alignment with who you truly are. So you already had a realization of self for that not to get in. Yeah, that's my theory anyway. Um, so one of the big keys to the subconscious mind is symbolism, which is why in magic and witchcraft we use sigils and talisman. And years ago we were using the seals of Solomon as well. Although now we make our own, using things that actually mean something to us. Yeah. But it's why advertisers use logos. We know that, yeah. They use sigils to get to program people, essentially, yeah. So a symbol is a million pictures, as a picture is 1,000 words. So a sigil carries a lot of power, carries a lot of energy, yeah, because there's a lot tied up in that little tiny symbol, in that little tiny sigil, yeah. And you would know, if you've ever made any kind of sigil. I'm thinking of one at the moment for that I have that helps to amplify my light if I'm going somewhere that's a little bit dark or shady. And when I say shady, I mean, well, I used it a lot when Ian was in hospital. Tells you a lot right there. To amplify my light, I use this particular sigil with crystals added, and it's very powerful. Because when you're creating it, all your intention is going into this little tiny symbol sigil. Yeah. So when it comes to using the subconscious mind energy for getting what you want, or aligning to your true nature, is probably how I would put that now. Um, so you can do that via ritual ceremony, spell work, absolutely engages that part of your mind that is hidden. 100%. Yeah, you're tapping into a very high emotion of your actions. Yeah, when you're using that subconscious mind energy. um So one of the things you can do, so if you treat your magic work like you're going on a date, yeah, for example. So there's the anticipation, there's the preparation of, your magical space, the tools, everything, yeah, and yourself as well. Then what you're doing is you're tapping You tap the conscious mind for the actual doing of the magic. Yeah. As long as both minds are in alignment, then that magic works. That makes sense. Yeah. Um, and I would say there is no such thing as a half-assed magical working. Yeah. It's about building that energy in whichever way works for you. Obviously, different things work for different people. Um, and also your intention. Intention is 99% of universal law. Yeah. And the outcome will always mirror the amount of effort that you put in. Yeah. Um, so whatever is embedded in your subconscious mind that is not aligned will, to some degree, affect your conscious mind and then your actions. Yeah. So by kind of digging out those voices, yeah, and really aligning with who you truly are and how that wants to express itself in this dense realm, yeah, that's what then aids your physical manifestation, yeah, of the world that you want to experience. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Um, so this true knowledge, this true wisdom that you have innately inside you, it does require those programmed voices to be silent, not necessarily all the time, but you can learn to block them out. Meditation is amazing, or being creative is amazing. It's an amazing learning tool to be able to block those out. Yeah. And it is possible. It really is. Because are you a powerful creative being or not? That's the place I always come back to. Yeah. And, don't get me wrong, there will be things that will challenge you on that way. Absolutely. As we've spoken about before, these guardians, is that what you really want? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, then. Off we go. um, so if you command it to be, then it will be. Yeah. Um, So stillness is a very important thing here, which is again why that outpouring of creativity, or being in meditation, or when you are out walking and your mind is still, your whole being is still, even though you're walking. That is possible, promise. That stillness is so important. Yeah, for both minds to be able to connect to, I would say, your higher self, the part of you that's bigger and sees everything. Yeah. That stillness is so important, because all the time you've got this background noise going on. You can't hear it. You literally cannot hear it. Yeah. Um, and you'd be surprised when downloads or information, whatever you want to call that, from your higher self comes in. I used to call them plops because it literally that's what it felt like. That plop, okay. Um, they come at the most inopportune moments, like sitting on the toilet or stirring a sauce on the stove. Because those times are times when you are usually quite still. There's a meditation there, even if you're sitting on the toilet. Yeah. So let me just scroll through my notes here, because there's a lot of stuff here that is really that important. So if you're trying to manifest something, yeah, it will always begin. So this is related to the elementals and also the chakras. Yeah. So it will always begin with inspiration. So that would come in via the crown chakra, but I would suggest it would actually come in from the soul star chakra, or maybe even beyond, because it goes, oh, I forget how many there are. I have got somewhere a visual of, pardon me, all the chakras, and the top one is I think it's the central sun, I think. So your inspiration could actually be coming from the central sun, and it gradually works its way down through the crown, which is father sky, which is inspiration. That's the projective energy. Yeah. It works down um, through your intuitive center. So there would be like a bit like a filter, if you like. Yeah. So it moves down through the chakras, and the elementals begin to get involved. Yeah. So by the time it gets to your throat, that's the Akash. So that's to do with the Akashic records. Yeah. So there might be a bit of filtration there. Gets to the heart, obviously. Does the heart want to get involved in this? And I would argue that if it's not aligned to your heart, it'll be rejected right there. If you are in alignment, if you know who you are, yeah, by the time it gets to there, if it's not aligned, no, it gets rejected. Yeah, possibly. This is just my theory. And then you come to the fire elemental, yeah, at the solar plexus, where it kind of, once it's gone through the heart chakra and it gets to the solar plexus, it kind of starts to form, gets almost like gets baked, yeah, because that's fire. So the heart is air, yeah, so it goes Akash. I'm not sure on the elementals for the crown and the third eye. I don't think there's elementals that correspond to that, but I would say they're very well. You could even say they're ether. Actually, I think beyond a cache is ether or the void, maybe. Who knows? Um, and then we get so when you get past fire, you come to water, the element of water, at the second chakra. Which what would water do to your manifestation? Maybe it would kind of smooth it. It would shape it a little bit because that's what water does, yeah? It smooths things, it shapes things. And then by the time it gets to the root chakra, then it's like a birthing, literally, yeah? It's a birthing of your manifestation, which is the earth elemental. Very interesting. Um, So the manifestation is the outcome of your process. If that makes sense. Um, and there is magic in the letting go to that process, if that makes sense. You're handing it over to who you truly are. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Um, so don't hold on to it. I don't know, everyone talks about that, but how do you do that in a practical way? Um, if it's something you're creating, like a painting, for example, then always remember that you are not the painting. Does that make sense? The painting is the outcome of your manifestation, of your process, sorry. So the manifestation, i.e., the painting, is the outcome of your process, of this process moving through the chakras and out and being birthed into a painting. Yeah. So there is it's a really cool saying actually. To know, to dare, to will, to be silent. I do like that. That's very cool. Um, and the idea of personal responsibility and self-discipline. So, if you want to create a painting, there's definitely an element of personal responsibility there and self-discipline. So you have to be disciplined in order to create. I mean, I'm looking here. I mean, it's loads of paintings around here that Ian's done. There's a discipline there, yeah. Um, or whatever it is that you're doing at the moment. I am building my Cartomancy YouTube channel, and I'm doing little shorts every day. I think I missed one day so far over 3 weeks. I think it's been something like that. Um, and then I'm adding longer ones in between. I have a plan. I have a strategy. So that's one thing that you can certainly do on a practical level is have a strategy. Yeah. And if you're not sure what that strategy would be, get your cards out. Ask the cards. Because when you are using something like tarot cards or Lenormand or oracle cards, yeah, or any other form of divination, you're asking for guidance from the part of you that's bigger and sees everything, your higher self. Yeah. It's coming from that place, especially if you set that intention before you even shuffle your cards. Yeah. So, what you're doing there is you're asking for guidance in how to move forward with whatever it is that, you have in your mind's eye as an expression of how your soul wants to do things. Yeah. So I love cards. I've always loved cards. I never had tarot or anything like that as a kid, but I had playing cards. And I used to spend hours playing cards, usually solitaire because, you know, no one really used to play cards with me. So it was solitaire, a lot of different types of solitaire. So, but I loved cards. There was something about them that was comforting. Um, and was very meditative, actually, without even knowing those words then. I was using them for those purposes, yeah? So now, I mean, there's, many cards on a shelf unit, on the table. Um, so I love drawing cards. I love it, and it doesn't feel like work, yeah? So that's another point that you can, if you think, oh yeah, so what is it then? How do I want to be creative? So if you think of the things that you do almost like a nothing. So when you do them, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like you have to to do it, yeah. Then you're onto something, yeah. Because when you are completely aligned with who you truly are, yeah, and your soul is expressing itself, it's a flow, literally. It flows. It can't not flow. Yeah. That's why it doesn't feel like work. So, I mean, I years ago, one of our students, she was saying she'd never ever painted anything before, like pictures, like artwork. Yeah. Never done any of that before. But she felt really drawn to start painting through doing this work that I'm talking about today. And some of the paintings that she produced were amazing. And she was doing like Ian does, big pictures, yeah. And she would start, and then she'd look at her watch, and it'd be like 4 hours had passed, and she's like, I don't know where that time went. It's just gone. Where did that time go? But essentially, what she was doing is she was being in the flow and allowing that creative energy, that inspiration, and then the energy from Mother Earth, which combine and then produce, yeah, whatever it is that you're creating. I hope that makes sense. Um, and I found that absolutely amazing that she'd never done anything like that before. But her soul was like shouting at her to get paint on a canvas. Amazing. I love that. Um, so yeah, this idea of unraveling yourself, I'm just looking at my notes here. So there is a little exercise you can do actually. Now you can either do this with words. So if you wanted to challenge your rigid thinking, yeah, because there are parts of our thinking that are a bit rigid, you know. I think if we were all fluidic thinkers all the time, we wouldn't be here. That's what I would say. Um, so you could take a word, yeah, any word, but think of it as a word that maybe has a frequency to it that you're not you're a bit about, yeah. So take that word and explore your feelings around it. You know, how does that word make you feel? Write it down, you know, maybe get the cards out, you know, to figure that out. If it's a bit of shadow work, yeah, you could do it that way. Um, but get it written down. And then when you start uncovering the layers, because it's all layers, yeah, those layers of the programmed voice, yeah, which are telling you what that word means and what it means to you, because different words mean different things to different people, yeah. You can then begin to deconstruct it, unravel it, yeah. And like I say, you can use the cards for that as well. If you want to do that, do it that way. Um, and what you can do is you can just completely dissolve the emotional cord that is connected to that word, which might be triggering you. Yeah, it's a very good exercise. The other way you can do it, so you can take a subject, yeah, which you have no knowledge about whatsoever, yeah, or it can be something you're very skeptical about, and go and do some research on it. And I mean, dig around, really go into it, yeah. Um, go a few pages in on your Google search or go to the library and sit there for 4 hours, however long, yeah. Find obscure books in the library, make notes, yeah. And even if your skeptical mind is going all over the place, yeah, keep going with it, yeah. And again, see how, sort of itchy nose, see how these pieces of knowledge make you feel? How do they challenge your beliefs? How does it all fit together? Yeah. How do the theories fit with what is the accepted norm? Yeah. So during this exercise, there'll be a point where your mind will stop jumping around and it'll begin to relax. So it's a bit like if you're doing exercise. So my experience with walking was when we first started walking the marshes. Every Sunday we'd do up to the uh, what's it called? Up to the barrier, up to the Thames and back again. Not the round robin, but up to the barrier and back again. Oh my goodness. I used to have to take my walking poles. I used to have to take food with me. I'd have to take water with me. I'd be bent double half the time. You know, it really, my whole body, my whole being was going, no. But after probably for about not even 6 months, maybe 4 months of doing that, and then we'll do another walking as well. All of a sudden, I said to Ian, one day, I said, "I think we can do this every day, the whole marshes every day, every morning." And he's like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready." So it then becomes a nothing, and your mind actually goes, "Oh, you know what? This is really nice," which is like meditation. It's like anything. When you start, you know, your subconscious mind is going, but eventually it falls in line with conscious mind, with your soul, with who you truly are, with your higher self. All those things click into place and line up, yeah. And it becomes like a nothing, yeah. I hope that makes sense. Um, and that's where you find the middle pillar, that observer. You then become the observer. Yeah. And you find that stillness. So what I would find is most days when we're walking the marshes in all weathers, didn't matter if it was raining, snowing, icy, foggy, bright sunshine, every day we walked that marshes. Every flipping day. Yeah. And it became a nothing. It was just something we got up and did because we'd gone through that, we broke through that barrier, if you like, that block. Yeah. That I was having just doing that once a week. So instead of getting that reacting, "Urgh," you begin to become depolarized and you become centered. Yeah. Which is an amazing place to be. Which, when it comes to unraveling your thinking, unraveling your programmed voices, that's all they are, programmed voices that we agree to be subjected to, when we sign the contract before we come here. Yeah. We know, we know what we're coming here for. We absolutely know. And I defy anyone to I defy anyone to argue that point. Because if we are powerful creators, then we know what we are doing in this place. 100%. And it might not feel like it a lot of the time, I promise you. you know, yeah, I'm saying all these things, and I know that they're true, or at least for me they are. But that doesn't stop it being a challenge. Yeah, it doesn't stop. When you get a massive thing thrown in your path, it's like sometimes you have to take a step back and sit down and think, okay, I know there's a workaround. There is always a workaround, but what is it? I'm not actually quite sure what that is yet, but I'm going to find it. I'm going to work it out. Because there is always a workaround every single time without fail. Yeah. Um, was there anything else I wanted to say on that? I don't think there was. I think the rest of the document is okay. So, no, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to open up the call. I've probably thrown a lot of stuff out there and you're going, whoa. But what is really mad is that for me, this way of thinking is now a nothing. And I tell you, it didn't take long. And we know that 2020 was a big, big opportunity to, look under that stone. Oh, what's that? Ugh, it's a bit mucky under there, isn't it? So, yeah, I'm going to open it up. So if anyone wants to share what they think about what I've just been waffling on about.
Yeah. Not a lot to say other than that. Yeah. What struck me was when you were talking about what happened in 2020, and I was one of those that was like, absolutely, why is people falling for this con? It's clearly a con. It's clearly premeditated, etc. And everyone around me were falling for it. And I just found it a complete bizarre set of circumstances. And then the following 2 years just got even worse. It was just like incredible.
Yeah.
People were falling for it. I just couldn't believe it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Massive, massive opportunity to really see what was underneath everything.
Yeah, you could see the puppet show and the illusionary tactics, the propaganda, and everything. It was just so blatantly obvious. And I was like, why am I seeing it and nobody else is?
Absolutely.
And then other things then started falling into place, and then Stan in the Park came along, and he started meeting other folk who was, didn't fall for it as well, and so on and so on. And,
absolutely.
Fascinating. One thing I want to ask is, when did the word occult become a negative term towards occultists?
Good question. Good question. Might have been something around the Witchcraft Act, maybe. Because I used to. This is weird. I used to be scared of the word occult. I used to be scared of the word witch. I used to be scared of anything that I couldn't see. So I don't know if anyone wants to go and do a little search. But it probably has something to do with the Witchcraft Act, because if you were doing anything that was considered in any way, shape, or form that could be deemed as witchcraft, then you'd be in trouble. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's around that.
Yeah, I sort of came to the same sort of conclusion.
Yeah. I suppose
happenings of the word occult before, so let's just say before 2,000 years ago, was the word occult used anywhere that you're aware of?
I know they use it in astronomy for meaning a planet that is moving around. So it's usually a moon, actually, moving around a planet, and I think it's when it casts a shadow. It's called occultation. So I know they use it in astronomy, and they would have used that in astronomy since astronomy was a thing, which is quite a long time.
Hence the word meaning hidden.
Absolutely. Yep.
One planet is behind another. Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hi. So I just looked that up, and of course it's not the AI that comes up first.
Yeah.
The word, because I asked when did the word occult enter our language, and it said the term occult entered the English language in the late 14th century, derived from the Latin word occultus, meaning hidden or concealed.
Mm-hmm.
It became more specifically associated with supernatural sciences like magic and alchemy by the 16th century.
Okay.
The word was used in English as early as the 1530s to describe something secret or not divulged. So there's loads out there.
Yeah.
It seems like several hundred years ago, Andy, really.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, cool.
I was just thinking if I might come in on the back of what you said, Andy, now about people in 2020 not seeing the dark that was going on. I just heard today from a friend, and I really wish he hadn't told me because I'm still on my own day. But digital identity is going to become a legal thing. So it's another layer of that darkness from 2020, isn't it? And it will be very interesting to see if it makes more people see the light, as it were, in inverted commas.
I'd say so, because everything they do is bringing their machinations to the surface.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's an occultist, it's all the people who are doing this shit. If you term the word as a dark word, I mean, it's been twisted, hasn't it? Really.
I'd say they're more toxic magicians than occultists.
Okay.
Because they don't operate from a place of divine source energy. They feed. It's like they're vampiric in nature, so they have to feed off of the energy of people who are connected to divine source energy in order to even breathe, in order to even exist. I heard someone say today that I can't remember who it was, something Ian was watching. David Cameron looks and feels like a robot. Not David Cameron, sorry. Keir Starmer is like a robot. I'm like, yeah.
David Cameron, actually.
Yeah, that one as well. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's priceless. Yeah, they're all robots, and they've all had their strings cut back in 2022. So they're all running around making it up as they go along, you know,
Mm.
which you can see is a good thing. But how much damage are they going to do on the way out? Well, let's see. Let's see, is what I would say.
As much as they can.
Well, that's generally what happens to a cornered animal, isn't it? When they're
Yeah.
when they're on the
Well,
way
it's
out.
another reason for the fluidic thinking, isn't it, really? To try
Absolutely.
and neutralise that rather than the compliant thinking, which just goes along with it all. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hmm. Anyone else have any musings?
No, I've got nothing more to add in that sense. I think you've covered all the bases there, Angie. Here's a question, a relative question.
Okay.
The word occult and tarot cards.
Yeah.
Is there a link? Is there a symbiotic relationship? Is there any kind of relationship between what you've talked about tonight being occult and tarot cards?
Yeah, I'd say because tarot cards, when you're using any kind of divination, you are trying to uncover something that's hidden. So they're an occult tool, or they're an occultist tool, definitely.
Yeah, just uncovering the hidden.
Yeah, because if you're searching for guidance or possibly answers, then you're trying to uncover something that you can't see yet. So yeah, definitely a tool of the occultist, definitely.
And like you, the word occult was always, as a child growing up, it always put, you always associated it with the devil. It was
Yes.
the devil's work.
Yes.
It's evil. So you always assumed that the occult didn't mean hidden, it meant evil.
Yeah, that's very true. And a lot of deeply Christian people are quite terrified of tarot. They do see it as just that, as the devil's work.
Yeah.
Well, I was told that yoga and meditation were the devil's work.
Yeah, well, we're just going to say they see a lot of things that is the devil's work.
It's all the devil's work, it's all the devil's work.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that you've got to believe in Christianity to then believe in the devil.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't believe in it, then the devil disappears.
100%. I think I spent a long time in my late teenage years reading lots of Dennis Wheatley novels. So yeah, I think that probably didn't help my my fear of the word occult.
For those that don't know who Dennis Wheatley is, can you just do us a brief synopsis of?
He wrote The Devil Rides Out, amongst other things. So if you've ever seen the film with, oh God, Peter Cushing? Is it Peter Cushing or the other one? I can't remember. Yeah, which is all about, satanic stuff, magic, ritual, witchcraft, So I read those books. I don't know for what purpose, but basically it didn't help with the idea that, the word occult was the devil's work. So it's like I was trying to deprogram myself in a very strange way. Oh dear. And funny enough, it was witchcraft and occult that actually made me face those things and go, oh, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting.
the hour.
I'm going to pull one card, just finish on.
Oh, go on, mate.
One card from the Lyran deck. One card to finish on. Oh, that one. Oh, okay. We have Life is Precious. Let me put that in the group. Take a picture. Love this. Life is Precious. Follow your bliss, risk and reward, cosmic upgrade. Kind of sums up, unraveling yourself, definitely. Because life's too short to follow the program's squeaky voices. Way too short. Yeah. Even if you believe you're eternal, life is still too short to follow the program's squeaky voices. That's my take anyway.
Yep, never followed them. Always fought by the seats of my pants, always been the rebel, always played outside the system, but played the system when I needed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
And still am. I still do that. I still, that's my whole ethos. Because I know that the system is there, and I know that I'm external to it, but every now and again you've got to dip your toe in there.
Yeah.
Stick your nose into the matrix, or whatever you want to phrase it. But you can pull yourself out of it as well. So it's a mechanism you can engage with as and when you require it, not to be absorbed by it.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And I think too many people are absorbed by the mechanism of the system.
Yeah.
Oh, very true, Andy.
Yeah. And that can be any part of the system.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Different parts of the system frown upon other parts of the system.
Oh, yes. Big time.
You're of the 13-toothed cog system, are you? Well, we're in the 6-toothed cog system. We're superior.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite crazy, actually. Definitely. Okay. Well, I think that's it I don't think I've got anything else to say unless anyone else wants to